The First Amendment to the Bill of Rights has the most core foundational freedoms that we as Americans treasure and must protect and defend. The first one is the freedom of religion, and we've talked about that, but there's more. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging, taking away, shrinking, shortening, abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, this is really important here. There's a lot of people who don't like what's been happening in America, and so they're trying to change it. And what this First Amendment tells us is how that change can take place. It says everyone has the freedom of speech. So you can say what you want to say. If you support Trump, you get out there and wave your Trump flag. If you support Biden, you get out there and talk about Biden and how great he is. We have the freedom to share our opinions, and this is so important. Because if we lose the freedom to talk, then we lose the freedom to think. Now, I believe that I'm right in everything that I believe. But when I talk to another intelligent human being who disagrees with me, but if we can do it in an intelligent way, you know what? I might actually grow. I might shift my perspective, or they might grow or shift their perspective. You see, one of the beauties of the American form of freedom of speech is that we are able to find common ground. And many times, instead of A or B, we arrive at C, which is an even better solution than the one that I have in my head. If you're married, or if you go to church, or if you're a part of a business and have a partner, you know that you're better when you listen to your partner, or to someone else in your church, or to your spouse. We know that we all have blind sides, and we have to be able to be free to speak. Now, if you think Black Lives Matter is the best thing ever, go ahead and talk about it. But if someone disagrees with you and says, you know what, I think all lives matter, or police lives matter, or dare I say even white lives matter, they deserve the freedom to share their perspective. You see, in our society now with the political correctness idea, what some people are afraid of is that this is taking away the freedom to disagree with the morality of the majority. If someone says, well, I don't think that's true, then they're immediately branded with a name. You're called racist, homophobic, xenophobic, or bad. And it's like, well, okay, that works on a playground. Hey, I want you to play with me. I don't want to play with you. Well, I think you're a stupid loser. Okay, that's really immature. And we expect that from third graders. But to be put into a political argument, that just doesn't get us what we need. The freedom of speech is so important because we need to be able to express our ideas. An intelligent conversation, talking about the facts, talking about what is real, is the only way that we can arrive at true solutions. You see, there's a difference between two political perspectives. Okay, one political perspective is trying to find out what works, what is true. Another political perspective talks about what is good. Now, what is good sounds great, but if it doesn't work, then it's not a good solution. I want you to imagine I go to a college and I'm talking in the boys' dorm, and these are, young, lusty guys, and I talk about how when they're successful, they need to be able to go out and have as many women as they want. Like they should be able to marry 5 women. I mean, that means you could be intimate with a woman every single night. And how awesome would that be to have so many wonderful women just serving you and taking care of you? And if you did it right, you would have this room full of guys just like, yeah, that's awesome. That would be so good. Now, if you're listening to me and you're horrified by this, that's good, because you should be. Because I'm not saying this is what should happen. I'm saying if that did happen, it would be horrible. First off, it would be horrible for those women. They're being objectified, they're being lowered. But what kind of a family life would that create? It would create chaos and strife. I mean, there's tons of examples in history where a rich king had many wives and many children, and there was murder and all sorts of things as people were doing power grabs, trying to see who could the next king be. So what seemed like a good idea, lots of women for me, turned out to be terrible in reality. And that's happened over and over and over in multiple areas in history. And so as we talk, we need to be able to share, hey, that sounds good, but let's look at the facts. This theory sounds great, but it doesn't actually work. Let's think about this. Back in the 1800s, in the 1800s, there were a lot of utopian societies where people would kind of go off by themselves. They would build a compound, and they had all sorts of very radical ideas. And all of those societies caved in. None of them lasted because the ideas sounded good. They just weren't true. So it didn't hold up to reality. And that's what a great thing about America. The ideals of our government have been very successful. They have had great results. It's given us the flexibility to respond to depressions and world wars. It's given us the ability to have a terrible civil war over slavery, yet still survive. Okay? And a big foundation of that is the freedom to be able to speak. And so if you're talking to someone and you disagree with them and you think they're just as smart as pond scum, that's okay. Let them have their opinion, and then you share yours. And if you're talking to someone who refuses to let you disagree with them, who shouts you down with name calling and who bullies you, just realize they're not ready for an open discussion. And you can't throw your swine before pigs. If they are not ready for it, then just pull back and say, hey, listen, now's not the right time for us to have an intelligent conversation. Please let me know when you are. But I believe there's a minority of Americans who are that crazy and won't let people disagree with them. I think the majority of us, we want to have an intelligent conversation with someone who has a different perspective. And so all of us, whether you're conservative or liberal, we need to protect the freedom of speech, because the freedom of speech protects the freedom to think. And when Americans stop thinking, disaster will follow. Thank you so much for listening today. God bless you. God bless America.